Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Ihsan Garachadoki, clinical psychologist. Today we are talking about the concept of warning signs of affairs, detecting affairs. Is there an affair or no? Are we reading too much into it? If you have that question on your mind, what I would like to do is get your attention to this complexity and almost paradox of detecting affairs. It's a very, very hard thing to do, and you got to be careful with that. You see, you may read and see videos and read books or whatever articles on warning signs of affairs, but I would be very cautious with actually applying those warning signs, such as, let's say, a person is distancing themselves from you, or they are acting in a very suspicious way. They're hiding their phone or contact information. They're not forthcoming with information about where they have been or whom they have been talking to. If you get some kind of odd calls or information about your partner that just doesn't match the pattern that you're used to, yeah, there could be generally warning signs, but it's like 50-50. Let me give you an example. For instance, if a person is not available much at home, they distance themselves, they're kind of workaholic, spend most of their time at work, and perhaps also with other friends or groups of people rather than family, and they may even kind of be more of a, I would say, kind of a sweetheart person, a kind of a very likable guy, personable, likable, easygoing individual who is not quite that assertive, let's say, and or even if they're assertive, but they're quite giving by nature. So they're pleasant, and in fact also visually they may be handsome or pleasant to the eye, and on top of that, at times you may notice some discrepancies in their reporting, like where they have been, or even, for instance, whether or not they have their phone locked, and they would be willing to share some of the information that they have stored on their computer or phone, or even their passwords and so forth. So if you get all that, and at one time you notice perhaps a mark of a lipstick on their and that is regarding the guy, on the collar, or maybe smell some certain perfume on their body, female perfume, and you may immediately jump to conclusion that there must be something going on. All those signs are good signs for this person to be having an affair. Well, in 50% of cases, there may be. But what if we have a little bit more information about this person? Such as, yes, they're workaholic. They're working very hard with very great intentions to take care of their family. Their attachment style is more of an avoidant attachment style. So they literally are the type of person who likes to be by themselves, more isolated. They shy away from conflicts. They may or may not be happy either way. They're not the type of person who is or constantly nagging their partner about what's right or what's wrong. They kind of do some self-regulation on their own. On top of that, they may have, personality-wise, they may have, let's say, a schizoid or a little bit of a schizoid personality type, like a mild version, like trait, where they're not so eager to make connections, so social connections, and form bonds with other individuals and people. So they're a little bit more reserved, more or less genetically, if you will. And in addition to that, or in lieu of schizoid personality type, let's say if they're on the Asperger spectrum, so again, they have some difficulty with, let's say, social skills, reading social cues, emotional cues, or again, expressing those or exchanging in that fashion with other individuals. Therefore, again, kind of keep to themselves or seem a little bit distant. And because they're simply a nice, likable person, people generally gravitate to them, such as, you know, co-workers. They may feel that this is a safe person, a guy who they can trust, and share some information as part of that cordial interaction. They may have given them a hug, just like lots of people, millions of people do, especially, let's say, here in our culture, in American culture. That's kind of the status quo, that's the norm. People who interact with each other and feel some kind of a cordial closeness, they're comfortable with giving each other a hug. So, and innocently, if it is a person who has, you know, lipstick on their lips, and they, you know, after a hug there is a mark of that. So if you put all that together, it could be completely a very I would say not necessarily normal, but just a regular guy who has no malintentions, who has no let's say discomfort as a reason to seek an affair and relationship outside of their main relationship. This is just simply who they are, you know, personality wise, attachment wise, emotional wise, you name it. Just characteristically, this is just a person, and they have the best intentions, and this is just their lifestyle. And if you read too much into this, because there could be valid signs that this guy could be having an affair, and also the other reason that they're not very comfortable, let's say, with sharing their passwords or what is on the phone, etc., is again part of more or less, as a securely attached person, they feel there are certain boundaries and about human beings, and every person has a right to privacy. They're not suspecting their partner that is something fishy going on, therefore they're not snooping into their partner's life, and they expect the same thing from their partner. They actually would you know, kind of subscribe to the idea that trust is important in relationships, and they have really nothing to hide, but at the same time they would enjoy that reciprocal expression of trust, and not having to divulge information under suspicion that there is something wrong going on. And generally they may have had some history with you know, people hacking into their computer systems, or abusing their password or access to computers. So based on that negative history with strangers in the world, they're not comfortable with just really easily sharing passwords and stuff, like putting it out there for everybody. So there is a little bit of a discomfort around that based on that negative history with hackers that they've had. So if you put all that together, you have a very regular person who has no affairs, and we would be reading too much into it based on these signs, and then becoming suspicious of their intentions and their activities, and wanting to prove that no, there must be something else going on. On the other hand, if you change these characteristics and really know that, for instance, this person is really does not fit any of those personality characteristics I mentioned, in terms of, let's say, schizoid or being on the Asperger's spectrum, or any social aloofness, etc. And on the contrary, they are actually very sociable, you know, outgoing person. Very, in fact, they may have a little bit of a, let's say, narcissistic trait or histrionic trait, and on top of that, they don't necessarily have an avoidant attachment style, or they may, but really there is a lot more going on in terms of their actual inner world, how dissatisfied they are in their main relationship, and whether they're capable of hiding some of these signs or not. There is affair going on, and we can't put our hands on it exactly and accurately prove that there is something going on, but there's actually a second relationship happening. We wouldn't know either way. There are some signs, some warning signs, but none of these signs are actually true evidence for this person to have or not have an affair. In reality, people who do have affairs, unless they're kind of, let's say, rookies, they figure out one way or another to separate these relationships and kind of keep them in hiding. I've had many clients who fall on this whole spectrum of being a complete rookie to an expert and master of having multiple relationships. So, and everybody usually starts with being a newcomer, and they kind of gradually, through some experiences, they learn how to separate those relationships, if you will. And they're good at hiding or lying and literally actually managing 2 different or 3 different relationships, and it's mind-boggling. So it's based on reality out there, what people are capable of. I would suggest that you actually stay away from trying to read anything into the reality of whether or not your partner has an affair by following certain warning signs, such as, like we talked about, the issue about privacy or hiding stuff, or some kind of visual marks, like you may see a hickey or a mark, a lipstick mark, or some perfume, or again some unusual calls, or a lot of times people are told, if your partner is answering a call in your presence and then take it to another room, they're not comfortable talking in front of you, that would immediately be a sign of some kind of a untoward, like fishy thing going on, basically an affair. I would really try to stay away from these warning signs and not read too much into it. If there is any indication, meaning just generally you feel uncomfortable with what is happening, then I would, what I would do is I would become alarmed really about that level of discomfort in your relationship, whether or not an affair is going on. So that is really the type of discomfort, that gut feeling that you get with your partner, that there's something wrong here. You're not connecting well with one another, you're not understanding each other quite well, you're not there for each other like you used to or you should be, then that deserves attention. That deserves your 100% attention, and kind of persuasion of that type of endeavor, or your partner, to sit down and have a real honest heart-to-heart chat about what is going on, what is happening in the relationship. Affairs are really secondary, or kind of a byproduct or a side effect of that actual problem that is going on between 2 people. So rather than trying to really get distracted and derailed by paying attention to these warning signs and focusing on whether or not an affair is going on, your gut feeling and inner, I would say, kind of detection of some uncomfortable, unpleasant experience with your partner is good enough for you to have an honest communication and conversation with your partner to see where you're at, where your relationship is at, like kind of measuring that the quality of your relationship, and following through with that. You know, if there is a little bit of discord or discrepancy between you and your partner, don't leave it as you know, as is. What you want to do is again kind of you gotta pursue a little bit of a long-term outcome, in terms of, okay, if maybe your partner is stressed, they have some issues and problems at work or with some family members or with their partners, you know, like business partners, or some other issues outside of your relationship going on. And they may assure you that don't worry about it, that's something off our relationship and I need to deal with it. It could be a legal issue, it could be a whatever issue, inheritance issue, it could be a health issue. Yes, you should certainly give them that freedom and leeway to deal with it personally on their own, but also, you know, again, pursue that type of a connection with them where you're reassuring them that you are there, you're available at times. Check how you can invite them to open up to you, at least share some of this information with you. That constant connection is important, a supportive, secure connection that you would keep with your partner. Now, if there is an affair, it will reveal itself down the road. And there's no way to really want to hide that once you have opened that channel of communication with your partner, because they see that your level of caring, and that's really kind of the antidote to that affair, if it is going on, because that your level of caring and attention and kind of peaceful, secure, safe approach toward them really counteracts what they're getting from having established that affair. And if there is no affair, there's no affair. So you have been there for them, you strengthened your relationship, you figure out the details of the fact that, well, many of these things are happening innocently. There is no, again, bad intention behind it, and you can put your mind at ease. I hope this was helpful for you. Let us know what you think, and if there's anything else you would like to know about affairs, we'd be glad to create some new videos. Thank you for watching.